Hello and welcome again to lecture number 8. In this lecture, we will discuss software license types. Understanding software license types is important for two key reasons. First reason, maintaining compliance with software licensing agreements. Second, reducing wasted IT spend on software licenses that are surplus to requirements and go unused. Compliance with software license agreements is a significant issue for IT organizations. When an organization chooses to purchase software licenses, they are legally bound by the terms of the software license, sometimes known as the End User License Agreement, EULA. If a software vendor suspects that you are not compliant with the terms of your software license agreement, they may request to perform a software audit. For IT organizations, understanding software license types is a necessary step towards accurately interpreting software license terms and conditions and ensuring ongoing compliance. Familiarity with software license types is also important for reducing wasted IT spending. A report on the cost of unused software collected data from 3.6 million users at 129 companies in the United States and the UK over a 4-year period. Researchers found that 37% of all installed software was not being used, amounting to $259 per desktop and over $37 billion in total wasted IT spend. And with the global market for software license expected to grow at 8.6% compound annual growth rate through 2023, there is even more potential for waste as IT organizations increase their spending on software licenses. With a better understanding of software license types and improved software asset management, IT organizations can rein in spending and reduce waste, even while investing more in software than ever before. Also, according to Gartner, that spending on software purchase exceeded $400 billion for 2019. This number will decrease to $300 billion in 2020 due to increased attention that SAM solutions are getting, and that many organizations are heading towards decreasing their software spending. And here we come to the entrance and the main topic. What is software licensing? Actually, when a software company releases a new software application, that software is protected by copyright under states' intellectual property laws. As owners of that copyright, software companies have the exclusive right to control the usage and distribution of the applications they create. A software license is a legally binding agreement between a software vendor and a business or IT organization that wishes to use their software products. It establishes rules, requirements, and guidelines for both parties, especially pertaining to how the licensee may use the software, how usage costs will be determined, and the extent to which the licensee may copy, modify, or distribute the software. So what are the different types of software licenses? In this table, these are the main types available in the global IT market for software licenses. As you see, the licenses are divided into two main categories. First category on the left is the open source licenses. The second category is the proprietary licenses. And getting familiar with software licenses types can help you make smarter decisions when negotiating software licensing agreements and keep your organization in compliance with software contracts. And to help you get started, we have put together this list of the most common software license types that IT asset managers need to know. We have divided our list into two categories: open source software license types, which are free, and proprietary software license types, which are paid licenses. First, open source software license types. The key distinction between open source and proprietary software is how they treat access to the source code. The term source code refers to the actual text documents containing the code of the application, written in the programmer's chosen language. With access to the source code, A business or IT organization can easily inspect the application's function and make changes based on their business needs. Open source licenses are ones that allow software programs to be used, distributed, and modified by the end user. There are many different open source software license types. First type is public domain license. A programmer or company that creates copyrighted software can choose to forego that copyright by donating the software to the public domain. Software in the public domain can be freely shared, modified, distributed, commercialized, and relicensed by the end user with essentially zero restrictions. Literary works like the plays of William Shakespeare and the famous novels like A Christmas Carol for Charles Dickens or The Time Machine for H.G. Wells are also part of the public domain. That means anyone is free to reprint, reproduce, recreate, or reinterpret their works, sell them, and make a profit. The intellectual property associated with this work, as with the open source software, it belongs to the public. So in this case, the intellectual property of the open license of the public domain license belongs to the public. Here we go to the second type of the open source licenses, which is permissive license. A permissive license is like a public domain license, but it may contain limited restrictions on how the end user may modify or distribute the software. The benefit of permissive licensing for software creators is that it allows them to retain their intellectual property and maintain some control over how their software is used while continuing to support open source development and even licensing their product for free. There are several subtypes of permissive software licenses, each with their own specific terms and conditions for how the licensed software may be modified or redistributed. The Apache License 2.0 was developed by the Apache Software Foundation in 2004. The document grants individuals and organizations permissions to use, reproduce, or modify Apache software products. It also establishes additional requirements for the redistribution of the software and prohibits users from suing each other for patent infringement. The MIT license, created by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is another example of a permissive license that places minimal restrictions on the end user. Third type of open source licenses is restrictive licenses. Restrictive licenses may be referred to by several other names, including reciprocal licenses and copyleft licenses, a play on the term copyright. The most common restrictive software license types in use today is the GNU, General Public License, GPL, version 3.0, created by the Free Software Foundation. With a GPL version 3.0 license, the end user is granted permission to copy, distribute, or modify the licensed software program, but with one caveat. Any adaptations of the source code can only be distributed under the same GPL version 3.0 software license. The result here is that even purchases of a derivative software product licensed under GPL version 3.0 will have the right to receive the source code, make changes, and copy or redistribute the program as desired. Fourth and last type of open source licenses is the LGPL, or Lesser General Public License. The GNU Lesser General Public License, LGPL, was also created by the Free Software Foundation. This type of software license permits the end user to modify the program and incorporate the derivative version into a proprietary software product that can be licensed on their own terms and at their own discretion. This stands in contrast to the term of the GPL software license types, which typically require creators of derivatives work to give away the source code for free. So this one is called LGPL. And now we move to the second category on the right, which is proprietary software license types. Most IT organizations will primarily deal with proprietary software licenses from major vendors like Microsoft, Oracle, Adobe, and IBM. Navigating these software license agreements is a complex process, frequently requiring collaboration between IT professionals and legal advisors specializing in technology and contract law. Below are some of the proprietary software license types that IT professionals should be aware of. First, subscription versus perpetual licensing. A perpetual software license is one that grants users permission to use a software indefinitely, usually for a single one-time cost. Perpetual licenses seem like they may reduce lifetime ownership cost, but be aware, as your IT organization may end up paying more for extras like software upgrades, vendor support, and ongoing maintenance. In contrast, subscription based software licenses are purchased on a monthly or annually basis and grant the users right to operate the software only during the specified subscription period. Most software companies are shifting towards subscription based business models to provide better business or service for their customers, and software subscription packages typically include things like customer service, software maintenance, and annual upgrades. For software as a service, SaaS licenses, the vendor may even provide the IT infrastructure needed to support the application. Second, user licensing or named users versus concurrent users. User licensing allows software vendors to set their licensing fees based on the number of people who will use the software at your IT organization. The most common used user license types are named user licensing and concurrent user licensing. For named user licensing, each software license is assigned to one person along with a login and password they can use to securely access the software from any device. Named user licenses cannot be shared between staff members, but it may be possible to transfer them between employees on a permanent one-to-one basis. While concurrent user licensing allows users at a business or IT organization to share user licenses provided that the total number of individuals using the software at a given time does not exceed the total number of licenses available. Third type of proprietary licenses is device licensing. Some software vendors choose to license their application on a per device basis. This software license type grants the user permissions to install and operate the software on a specific laptop, computer, or data center device, whichever is most appropriate for the application. Device licensing is frequently a more cost-effective option in scenarios where several employees use the same computer to perform their job roles. An IT call center with 100 desktop computers might support 300 employees working in three separate shifts. In a case like this, it would usually be cheaper to purchase 100 device licenses, one for each machine, than to purchase 300 user licenses, one for each worker. Fourth type of proprietary licenses is network licensing. Network licenses are popular software license types in enterprise organizations with more than 1,000 employees. Network licensing grants software access to all users and devices connected to a specific network. A network license may support an unlimited number of users, or it may be used to support a concurrent licensing model that restricts the total number of sessions on the network for that specific application. And last type of proprietary licenses that we will discuss here is type number 5, metered consumption-based licensing. A metered or consumption-based licensing software is one where the software vendor charges licensing fees based on how frequently users access specific applications, features, data, or other resources. Software vendors can measure factors such as total use time, number of database queries, number of CPU cycles consumed, or quantity of stored data, then charge their customers accordingly based on how they used the software. Some metered software licenses require customers to prepay for usage, then draw down the prepaid amount by using the software. In other cases, the customer uses the software according to their needs and receives a monthly or quarterly invoice based on their total use of metered software features. Some IT organizations dislike metered licensing because the cost of the software increases as the business becomes more reliant on. Others may like metered licensing because it offers flexibility for users and devices while tethering the total cost of ownership to actual usage and reducing waste. Okay, great. So now let's move to another interesting topic is that within all those interesting types of licenses, how would an IT individual or an IT professional or a user or a customer or an organization choose the licensing model suitable for their business or for their organization? So now that you have learned about the different software licensing options, how do you choose the right one? If you are looking for the best licensing model to help monetize your software and increase your revenue, there are many options available, and a good licensing management solutions should provide you with the model that best suits your application rather than the other way around. When deciding on a licensing model, the best approach is by following the next three simple steps. So, the first step here from the three steps would be that from a business perspective, decide on what terms you would like to provide your application to your customers. You want to provide it per device, per user? Do you allow concurrent users? What are the terms and what are the needs, the utilization needs, the business needs, the requirements or the specific requirements of every user in every department? And like this, you will have understanding of the specifications of the software and the terms within which the user will use the software, and then you can decide the appropriate licensing model and relate the terms or the expected usage or the expected needs to the license models which you have just discussed, and then you can come out with the suitable licensing model for your organization. Second, from the list above, select a license model that you think best corresponds to the way you want to license your application. Keep in mind, it's possible to run more than one license model at one time. Of your preferred license model, is there any particular constraint by which you want to limit access to your application? For example, do you limit consumption by time, by feature, by geography or device? And third, by combining your preferred licensing model and then applying any particular constraints to that model, you will then have configured your ideal license that can be configured and managed and integrated within your SAM program effectively. Thank you very much and see you next lecture.